Hello. Okay. Hey, everyone. I'm glad there's actually few people here right now. My name's Haardik. I'm from LearnWeb3, and today we're going to be talking about, building for the future in an uncertain market. So, quick show of hands, who here is a student right now at Waterloo or Laurier or anywhere? Okay, I saw 1, 2. Okay. Who here is a software developer by trade? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, cool. And how long have you been in the Web3 space, roughly? Just raise your hand if it's like less than a year. Okay, 1 to 3 years, maybe? 2. Okay, and more than 3 years. Okay, cool. So, this is going to be a little different. It's also been a long time since I've done one of these IRL, so it's nice to be back. There's going to be, I'd prefer this to be more of a discussion than a lecture. So if you guys want to be talking while I'm doing this, I'd love to sort of engage with you. But, we'll go forward with it. So, as said, my name's Haardik. I legally have no first name. So when I'm signing papers, it just goes down as Haardik Haardik, which is weird. I'm a Waterloo alum. I started the UW Blockchain Club back in early 2018, I think. Software developer by trade and currently co-founder at LearnWeb3. So, being at LearnWeb3, there's some questions I get asked every day, and I kind of wanted to take this opportunity to, if some of you have these questions or similar along those lines, I kind of just want to talk about that. So, one of the most common questions I get pretty much every single day is, I'm just starting out, how do I get a job in this space? Or if you're a student, the second one's probably particularly relevant, is every company wants years and years of experience, and how do I deal with this as a new grad? Maybe if you're in the co-op program, it's a little different, but for most university students, new grads don't usually have years of experience under them. And do we need to grind lead code? That's very common. And what chain, what language, what protocol, what framework to use? And also, is crypto just dead? Do we just do AI now? Is OpenAI is going to take all of our jobs anyway? And why are we doing this at all? Or, do you want to learn front end, the back end, smart contracts, and when airdrop? We're not going to talk about the last one. So from these, I want to kind of go over these, but there's some facts, but then there's also opinions, and then there's things you can do. So fact is, the job market is shit right now. If you're on Waterloo Works, you know about this. If you've been grinding, you know about this. Some companies need lead code. They will always need lead code. It's just how it is. Some don't. A good amount of companies want past experience. But if you're a new grad, if you're learning, if you're about to graduate soon, there are things you can do to sort of get around that. And Ethereum and sort of EVM-esque chains still remain the most popular to build on if that's the goal you're working towards. Crypto is not dead. It's a thing, but crypto is not dead. What you should learn is a bit of a tricky topic, and I'd love to dive into that in a little bit, and no airdrop questions. That's the facts. But then again, we have some thoughts. Being at LearnWeb3, we've had students being hired at a lot of great, well-known companies in this space. Some of them are here in this room right now. We had people hired, I'm not going to list out all of these names, but I kind of know a thing or two about what can you do to sort of being a student, being in a bear market, being in an absolutely terrible job market, and sort of getting away with it and still being able to, get a job or get funding if you're trying to do a startup or along those lines. You get what I mean? So let's just talk. If anybody at this point wants to ask me questions, has a question, has a problem they're struggling with or anything, let me know. More than happy to answer. But let's just talk about the questions I started off with first. So I think number one, we want to talk about is AI going to actually take your jobs? And are you wasting your time learning how to code if you don't already do it professionally? AI is not going to take your jobs. And I think one of the reasons is, actually, this is something I hate, and this is something I've been talking about a lot more recently publicly, is a few years ago when sort of this term Web3 came along, Chris Dixon was like, oh, Web3 is read, write, own. And all these guys were talking about sort of, it was gaining popularity. It never equated to crypto. It never equated to blockchains either. That's a weird issue that we've run into sort of sometime in between over the last few years, where everybody's just like, Web3 means tokens, Web3 means scams, Web3 means Pepe shit coins. There's nothing real in this space. There's not a dunk on crypto. Big crypto bro here. But, oh, is this being streamed? Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, Web3 was always sort of meant to be like the next frontier of technology. It could have been crypto. There's AI. If you saw WWDC, maybe probably Vision Pro is probably going to be very common in the next few years, hopefully. That's one thing I want to clear up. So if you're in this space, there's a lot of beginners who are just like, oh, did I make a mistake learning how to build on Ethereum or learning how to build on XYZ chain? Should I have just spent my time doing data science instead? Or should I have just spent my time learning how to use TensorFlow instead? The answer is you don't have to choose. There's no reason for you to pick one or the other. If we're really working towards sort of what the next frontier of the internet is, a few years down the line, 10 years, 5-10 years down the line, you're not going to see apps in the mainstream who are just like, we do this in a decentralized way, or we do this with a chatbot. There's going to be a combination of all of those things. And any sort of dev who's been, full-time software developing for 10, 20, 30 years now, if you know anybody like that, when they started off, tech looked very different than what it looks like today. A lot of the things we use today, a lot of the things they even teach you in school today probably didn't used to exist back then. That's going to change. And it's just something I wanted to rant about. I've been ranting about this a lot recently. That's one of the things. And, okay, what else? Lead code. If there's a lot of Waterloo people here, probably have strong feelings about lead code one way or the other. I don't know if you've seen this problem come up, if lead code is important or not, but that's whatever. I want to answer the second question, with what to do about not having years of experience. Again, if you're the target audience for this talk, this might be relevant to you, where, you may have co-ops, but internships are not the same thing. And you may not have co-ops. You may be in a non-co-op program. How do you get hired in a job market that's terrible, in a bear market where tokens are all down to shit? So what I've seen here, what I've seen students get the most value from when they're sort of on this journey to learn, explore, figure out what they want to do, what kind of field they want to work in, what job they want to get. What helps them sort of the most is kind of just building in public. Not saying you have to be active on Twitter 24/7. There's absolutely no need to do that. But you have to be building, and you have to be building in a way where you can say that that was your experience. If you copy a to-do list tutorial to learn React, that's not going to land you a React job. If you copy how to build a task tracker using Node.js and Express, that's not going to get you a backend developer job. What is going to get you those jobs is building something that you can't copy paste on a tutorial, is building something that is not so simple. It could be a clone of something, sure, but it shouldn't be a copy paste from a tutorial. And hackathons like ETHGlobal, and other types of hackathons are probably the best place to do that. If you're a hacker here, that's amazing. I got my start in the Web3 space, ETH Waterloo 2017. So this is great sort of being back here after so many years. But if you're here to hack, if you're here to learn that, and you're here to sort of, get ready get a name out there, build projects. I think that is the key number one thing you can do apart from grinding lead code and going after FANG. If you're building projects and you're building stuff that's novel, that's not a copy paste from a tutorial, and if you're building stuff, hopefully that can get some users, some actual users. It's not a necessity, but it's always a nice to have. If you build a project that has like 50 users, right? 50 users, better than 0. Do that, and I promise you get a few of those under your belt. Companies are going to stop complaining about you not having years of experience on your resume. Because when you have actual things you've built that have users, or just actual cool things you've built that are not copy-pasted from tutorials, that is a very high-value signal. I've been on kind of both sides. I was a student at Waterloo, doing the Waterloo Works grind, applying to 200 jobs every semester, and being on the other side, sort of done hiring for companies I worked at, done hiring for LearnWeb3. And there's a lot of times I hire new grads. I've hired a bunch of new grads, and the key thing is, again, have they had novel projects under their belt? Yeah, I think that's a key point I wanted to get across. Again, this is meant to be a discussion, so if any of you have any specific questions I can help answer that might be relevant, I'd love to take on those now. Otherwise, I can just continue on this list. All right. Okay. So what else? What else do we got? We got the lead code question. It's okay. It's kind of the similar answer to that. The other thing I would say, kind of pertaining to number 1 and number 2 both, is being involved in a community helps a lot. I'm not here to shill LearnWeb3, by the way. Okay, we'll go through this slide. There's like one slide at the end where I'll give you the website link. I'm not here to shill you a course. I'm not here to sell you a bootcamp. Our education is anyway free, so I'm not here to sell you anything. But realistically, the most value I've seen, that's like the students I've seen who've gone from sort of not knowing anything about Ethereum or not knowing anything about crypto, and in less than a year, getting like a great remote job, traveling the world, perhaps if they're in DevRel, or just working on cool protocol layer development stuff, which used to be a dream of mine when I was starting out. The biggest thing that separates them is also how active they were in the community. There's a lot of people, and this is unfortunately somewhat a toxic culture at Waterloo, I have to say, is people really tend to be in isolation a lot when they're learning, when they're trying out new things. Obviously, if you're not from Waterloo, maybe don't recognize that problem, but there's generally tends to be a little bit of competitiveness, toxicity around that culture, and I want you to forget that. I want you to be collaborative. I want you to talk to people around you, because imagine we're in a room right now. Imagine I'm not giving this talk. We're just sitting around. We're just chatting, having coffee, and we're just talking about sort of what's going on in this space, right? What is Cosmos doing? Is Berachain even real? I don't know. We're just sitting around talking about that, and we'll bring up things that the other person doesn't know about. I'm going to go out after this talk. I'm going to meet some of my friends who are going to teach me 1,000 DeFi things I have no idea about, because that's not who I am. I don't do DeFi degen all day. You meet somebody else, they're going to tell you all the new advancements happening in NFTs. You meet somebody, they're going to tell you why OP Stack is better than Arbitrum Stack, or why Arbitrum is better than OP Stack, or why Coinbase is building on Optimism, or what the hell is WorldCoin and why are we all selling our eyes to Sam Altman. Whatever that reason is, when you're around people, you get to bounce off ideas. You get to talk to people who are focused on things other than you, and you will never be able to get that far by yourself. Web3 is, or I should say crypto, is such a small ecosystem relative to a lot of other technologies that are out there, and even then, it's almost impossible for you to stay up to date just by yourself. So if you aren't doing this already, and if you are kind of in your journey to, learn more about this, build more, maybe get a job, maybe build your own thing, the number one highest value thing you can probably do is being part of the community, and the number 2 would be building projects that you can put on a resume that hopefully have real users. Yeah, want to say that out. What else? Do you just move to AI now? Kind of touched on that. Not going to take your job. Use it to your advantage, Train ChatGPT. It's really simple to do. Train ChatGPT. Feed it a 100-page Ethereum yellow paper and ask it all the fucking questions you can so you can learn how Ethereum actually works inside out. You don't need to stay just on the conceptual level. You need to be using it to your advantage. A few years from now, devs who are using ChatGPT to 10x their productivity, they are the ones who are going to take your jobs. It's not ChatGPT who's going to take your job. It's the people who can perform 10 times better in the same amount of time who are going to take your jobs. So if you don't have an OpenAI account, if you aren't paying for ChatGPT right now, or if you aren't paying for an API key right now, come on, guys, okay? It's put in $20. Put in $20 and it's going to be worth a month, 2 months of whatever usage you can get out of OpenAI, and that'll be way more value than, should I say that? Way more value than the $20K you're probably paying for a semester over here. I have my thoughts on university education. That's whatever, maybe another time. Yeah, dude, like, I don't get, there's another thing. Sorry, I'm just going on a rant here, but there's another thing. Seeing so many people come up to me, they're like, hey, so I want to learn how this OpenAI thing works, but it wants me to put in a credit card. I'm a first-year student. I don't want to spend money on this stuff. I'm like, dude, you just bought a $5 coffee, right? $5 will get you thousands of messages on ChatGPT. $5 will get you so much value from OpenAI's API. You're going to think back to this time a few years from now and be like, why did I not just do that? If there was ever a time in history where you could look at it and be like, this is going to change the future as we know it, I don't think there's been a clearer time, at least not in my lifetime. There were probably times before I was born, but in my lifetime, I don't think anything as big as the AI revolution right now has happened, and you shouldn't have to make a choice. You shouldn't have to choose. You shouldn't not be using it. You should be using it to improve yourself as much as you can, whether you're building in crypto, whether you're not building in crypto, if you're just here for the free t-shirts and food. If there's anything you want to take away from this, take away the fact that don't be worried about spending $5 and talking to people, because talking to people will get you the most value in your career than ever before. Another thing to think about on that topic, actually, somebody said this to me the other day. Somebody was like, XYZ person has so many connections. He knows everyone. How do you compete with that? If you want to build something, how do you compete with somebody who already knows everybody? They can just give them a phone call and be like, hey, use my thing or promote my thing on Twitter or whatever. And how do you compete with that? One thing I want you to think about on that note is, if you're in university right now, if you're in school right now, and I'm assuming if you're, at least the people who said they're developers, you're either doing ECE or CS or something like that, your classmates, you have hundreds of classmates, hopefully you're friends with some of them. Those people, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, will hold some very good positions at hopefully some very good companies. And kids who are in school then will look at you and will be like, this guy knows all the people from all these big companies. How do we compete with them? So talk to people, build in public, build projects, talk to people, get the value out, talk to AI, learn all of this. What chain, what language, what protocol, front end, back end, smart contracts, do whatever, do all if you can. I think a lot of you are in the age group where you're probably still exploring. You aren't 100% sure what you'd like to be doing a few years from now. If you're in that phase of life, just do everything, dude. You have time, just explore everything, do a little bit of everything. That's why I think building projects is amazing and hackathons are amazing, because you have to build out the whole thing. It can't be just, I just wrote an Express API, but I can't demo it because I don't have a website to show it off. You have to build out the whole thing. Do that. I think that's all the questions on my list, at least. And again, this is all the shilling I'm going to do. It's free. We don't charge you. Check it out if you want to. Come meet me later if you want to. This is my Twitter. DM me if you want to. I reply to every single one of my DMs. That's about it. If you have any follow-up questions to that, if you want to chat in front of everybody or just by myself later, come up or ask the question now, and then we'll hand it off to where the next speaker is.